All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hammer the Heck Out of It podcast brought to you by Jacob Ham and Alex Heck. We kind of took a little bit of a hiatus there. We both had pretty busy schedules, um, and while we were taking that little hiatus, the Masters tournament went on, and John Rahm won the Masters. He won by four shots. It wasn't crazy dramatic down the stretch, but it really could have been. I know with the way Augusta is, how you can make a big number pretty quick. Four shots isn't that much there compared to other courses. So yeah, it was good to see. I thought it was good to see John win it. I think he seems like a great guy. He seems like a good face of golf. Him Rory, those guys, they all seem like they got a good head on their shoulders. So it was good to see him win it. Alex, I was wondering if you got to watch most of it or
Yeah, I did. I agree with you. Really cool to see Rom win it. Um, any of the listeners that remember my pick, unfortunately, sad to see Rory not contend.
and mine
Even
got
though,
top 10, but he didn't win. So
okay, so you beat me, I guess. But even though, that was my pick, I'm still confident that he will figure out how to get around that golf course better one day and contend. And I really hope that he does. But no, my biggest takeaway from just the time that I spent watching, and I think basically the entire golf community was rallying around this young man, is just Sam Bennett and his play. And you got to give a hats off to him. I mean, not only did he run away with the low am, but he was contending for 3 days of the event. So that's really cool to see. Um, and I believe he just missed getting the exemption back by a few shots, but
yeah, that was a bummer, but I mean,
yeah,
he'll be back, you know.
absolutely.
So
But nonetheless was cool to see that. I want to get your thoughts kind of on just the ending, as you mentioned, not really dramatic at all, but we saw Rom have to play a provisional ball off the tee, which I can't remember who was announcing. Maybe it was Immelman that mentioned it, and he just said he can't remember the last time we saw a Masters champion have to play a provisional ball off the tee. I mean, what do you think that was? A little bit of nerves? You think he was imagining himself putting the green jacket on a bit early, and he just hits a roving hook? Because we
yeah,
don't really see that out of him too much.
yeah, I think it
Um,
was just, he's always hit that fade. So I think it was he might have released it a little, just like a split second too early. It was one of those where he probably got a little quick because he was trying to get that ball out there and get it going because he wanted to get the ball in the hole and get that hole over with probably. But
mhm.
um, yeah, that ball was going to be found no matter what. That's not OB over there on the left of 18. So they were going to dig to the trenches to find that ball, but um, it was, yeah, if that somehow was never found, that could have gotten a little crazy there at the end. I can only
Mhm.
imagine like the thoughts that would have been going through his head. Um, I know I'm not like the most mentally strong person. He seems very mentally strong, John does, but um, yeah, for myself, if I would have done that, the thoughts would have been going through my head really quickly. I don't know if I could have hit that second provisional. Like I would have been in full panic mode. So
Yeah,
um, I was glad that it came out to the middle. He still
sure.
made like an all world par. That was
Yeah, let me ask you that because I've had a little bit of debate with my friends, and I haven't listened really or like gotten to hear if any commentators have spoke on or any other podcast or anything like that. But so obviously the ball kicks out and he punches it up to a short wedge distance. That wedge seemed like overly aggressive to me. Um, I don't know if I was wrong for thinking that he was a little bit short sighted from there, or that he was gonna, that ball was definitely going to be like 15, 20 feet. But I mean, he hit what seemed to be like a perfect shot from there, as good as he could do to get it to what, like 5 feet, 6 feet,
yeah.
maybe
Yeah,
less.
I did listen to he was on Golf Subpar with Colt Knost and Drew Steely or Stees or I'm not sure. I don't want to butcher his name,
Hmm.
but um, John was on there right after he won, and I listened to that whole episode, and he said him and his caddy Adam Hayes talked about hitting it to 15, 20 feet like Tiger did, and then two
Hmm.
putt, take your bogey, you win the tournament.
Yeah.
Um, he did say that the only difference, or I don't know if he said it or if I just thought it. It seems to me the only difference was Tiger was up two, I think, um,
Okay.
and Rom was up four. So it's like,
Yeah,
Worst case scenario, his ball comes back off the slope. He has to chip it again. He's still making bogey at worst, probably.
sure.
Um, so I, it was a heck of a shot, though. I mean, that was like a
Yeah.
40, 50 yard wedge, and most
Mm-hmm.
golfers know that's like one of the harder shots in golf to nip
It did
perfectly.
seem like
So
that awkward distance for sure.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I was really impressed. And back to touch on your point with Sam Bennett, it was very impressive. I think he was the only amateur to make the cut. I don't want to. I could be incorrect on that,
no,
but
I think you are correct, actually.
yeah, yeah, he played unreal.
Yeah, because that's something that I always like to closely follow is just to see kind of low am. Obviously, I believe Victor Hovland was low am. I can't remember the year exactly, and you just see how these
Tiger's
guys.
year,
Sure.
2019. Yeah.
Okay, which is crazy because that seems like that was not long ago, and now this guy's a dominant force on the tour. But
Hmm.
it's interesting how the pattern just seems if guys can hold their nerves around that place as an amateur and can play well enough to get that low am, then they seem like they go on to have pretty successful careers. And I
Yeah.
feel like this case will be no different.
Yeah,
So,
I think he will too. I don't know if I'm assuming that helped his amateur golf rank. I did see where if he was a pro, that was like a $250,000 week for him if he would have been able to collect a check. But I
yeah.
also did see where he's probably going to make that in NIL money because of that week he had. So
Okay.
it was really good on him. I'm glad that he because his story, everything about him, um, he seems like a really good kid and he played well.
Yeah. And if I could just
Um,
chime in too, I wanted to just check this to throw this in, but Texas A&M, they're winning. They're actually winning their conference championship right now through 2 rounds. So they've got the third round tomorrow. So I mean, it's just cool to see how it's
mhm,
like he's on this big stage, and then life goes back to back to normal for him, at least for college golf, and now he's playing in a conference championship. So
right,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
and I mean that just gives him so much confidence that he can if he can take on that field at Augusta, it's he can play well with anybody. So
Hmm.
it's really good for him.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so let's get into the kind of the whole point of this episode. This week, Alex and I are going to kind of break down some golf swings we've got picked out, um, just to kind of give us some analysis. I know we both kind of chit chat all the time back and forth, sending videos of our own swings, see what the other one thinks, and give feedback to each other. And it's great. I know when I caddied for you over last summer, we went to the range after your first round, and I was trying to help you hit your driver. You were missing it right every so often. We were trying to figure that out. I just love that stuff. I eat it up.
Hmm.
I love trying to figure out how to just anything you can tweak, even with elite players. It's awesome. So
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
get
I'm
into
excited
that.
for this. I mean, I'm obviously by no means an expert, but I'm excited to I think you're super well versed in this. And I mean, I'm excited to hear even if there's points that you disagree with me on, please stop me and we can have that dialogue and talk. I'm excited to see what you think.
Okay,
So,
I'll get.
Akshay.
All right. So first here we've got Akshay Bhatia, left-handed. He's 6'2". He's like the exact same body type as me, which is crazy
Yeah,
because
I
of
thought
how
this was
far.
you for a minute until I noticed the beard and the flowing hair. So,
Yeah, yeah, and then you watch the golf swing and you realize it's not me too. But he's got. I mean, first of all, you got to break down the setup here. You look at
hmm
it. His armpits are right over his toes. His hands hang straight down from his armpits. He doesn't look like he's hunched over too much. He doesn't look like. I mean, it's a very athletic stance. I thought
Yeah.
he's always, in that regard, been pretty great.
hmm
You look at the takeaway. Most people down the line here, since we're down the hand path, um, like right here, I'll stop it. Usually you see that club kind of cover the hands. So he's already here in the first part of the swing. He has a very upright club, like he just puts the club in an upright position. He hinges real early. Um, he gets it kind of above the plane, people would say. But for him, with his body type, his length of his arms and everything, look at that top of the swing. I mean, the guy is that's as upright as it gets. That's more upright than like a Justin Thomas, which is crazy because
Yeah.
Justin Thomas is already like straight up. Um, you look at it here, and for those that don't know, me and him are like the same size. He hits it, I'm not kidding you, 50 yards, 60 yards past me up. So like this dude generates a lot of power. And I think this right here is where that comes from because you look at it and you see, for me at least, you see that right leg still bent. I think it, I haven't watched this that close, but I think it's about to snap backwards. And like that weight is on the back of that right foot about to push up through his right hip. And while it's clearing, there it is. See, it kind of snaps into like a straight leg position. That's where all of his power comes from. He generates it from the ground really well. I think that club right there is shallowed out amazingly compared to where he took it back.
Yeah.
Uh, Impact, you look at this. We were talking about this before we started the pod. I was watching this one time through. This is maybe one of the most outrageous positions I've ever seen, especially with his hips. Both pockets facing the target is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's so
Mm-hmm.
flexible. It's ridiculous. And then we got this video. I want to give him a shout out. I talked to him at Corn Ferry Tour Finals last year. Own Your Golf Game on Instagram, Chase Duncan. He's such a nice dude. We got this from his Instagram, so I want to give him a shout out here.
Yeah.
A lot of his students right here, you look at his hands, they're low and they're moving um, towards their body. They're not moving out. So that's why most of his students, most golf people know they hit cuts, and that's where that is coming from. They're not coming up with that in to out path. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is one of my favorite swings on tour. I look at this swing a lot because, like I said, we're like the same body type. I was just wondering, Alex, what you thought of
Yeah.
this move here.
If you could just go back to the setup briefly, what I think is interesting, what I've always noticed, something that like is similar in my swing that I've always tried to work on, is just you can kind of see quite a bit of his like lead forearm from this view, which I feel like is not typical
Hmm.
of guys on tour. I almost feel like you see more so the opposite, but his setup it sets up pretty open. It has a bias, it seems like, to shoot pretty far to the right.
Hmm.
Um, which is interesting. I'd be interested to know because obviously he's playing big cuts, but if that setup's by design, but a shoulder fix like that is something that, especially a guy like him that's playing as many of events as he is in the middle of a season, that'd be a tough change. I feel like to make even something simple as just a setup change like that would be pretty tough. Um, but no, obviously a really powerful setup, and then the takeaway is super interesting. I feel like you see more guys doing like having this takeaway that's kind of pushing out and up. And
Hmm.
it's like from there almost, as you mentioned, it gets super steep. You almost have like two options, which is just to drop it and use the ground so well, or you just have to be super wide. So he seems like he does a little bit of both. I mean, I haven't watched his swing enough from face on, but he still seems like he generates quite a bit of lag, like even being that steep, which is interesting.
Right.
Um, But
Yeah.
no, I mean, super powerful. I don't know how that's something that I've always wondered. Um, this seems like this emulates like just the modern golf swing of just like using the ground so well, like jumping,
Hmm.
it's really crazy though to see. I don't know how you necessarily teach that, what's happening with his lead foot. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I mean, I don't know either. Like I've tried to like incorporate it in my own golf game, and it's like when you
hmm
start doing that, it's almost hard because it feels like you're moving backwards in your downswing
hmm
at the beginning when you're trying to like use that front foot to push off. So I don't know. Like
yeah,
it's all those quick reflex muscles that people say, I mean that's key obviously, but yeah,
it's
I
very
mean this
much
is
like biomechanics, like we mentioned when we had Alberto on the pod. You have these guys who are, these golf instructors who study how the body works, the body moves, and they can maximize, kind of everything you have. Because obviously Akshay's not I mean, large in stature and his height, but he's by no means a big dude. So,
hmm
um, but yeah,
yeah.
I think
Um
that's all I've got really with his swing, unless there's anything else you want to mention. I mean, I love that we had a lefty on here just because of obviously like you mentioned, the build is so similar to yourself. So it's cool to be able to look at
um
his swing.
Yeah. And lastly, before we get off, Akshay, weird fact, we're born on the same day too, January 31st. That's our birthday.
We got
So
to get him on the we got to get him on the pod then.
it's awfully weird. But yeah, so that's all we got on Akshay. Obviously, great move. So we're gonna move on to our next one here. All right. Ready?
Awesome. Yep.
All right, and now we're going to get into our second golf swing here. Like we said, our AM that we picked, our amateur. If you've watched our other podcasts, you've seen him on here. He was a great dude. I mean, even after we had him on, we chatted for 30 more minutes after. I mean, he's so cool. He's so nice, and it was really cool to talk to him about his journey. This is Luke Clanton, Florida State golfer. First of all, setup. He's a little closer to the ball than Akshay was, but that can be because Akshay's 6'2". I don't know Clanton's height. I don't think he's 6'2", though. I think he's probably a little shorter. He is a little closer to the ball here, but he's still got that athletic setup. And like you said with Akshay, his his lead shoulder was a little open. Clanton's is a little closed.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Aesthetically, I like this setup better. I
I
think
do
it's
too.
more square. The
And I
shoulders,
think,
yeah, like you mentioned, the shoulders maybe are a hair shut, but they're definitely closer to square. And the feet then are a hair open, I would say, but I mean, they're basically both neutral.
yeah, and I mean, it just helps create a little more consistency. And not that Akshay's not consistent, obviously, as his PGA Tour card now. But we'll just break this down here. Takeaway, I mean, that's really good there. And they hit right here, we're a little outside the hand path. So he's actually covering his hands here perfectly.
Mhm.
I mentioned that with Akshay, how a most people's backswing covers their hands at this position. His does perfectly. Another thing I want to talk about here is you look here at the club face, it matches that lead arm really well. Um, I know me personally, I like to see that in my swing. I know a lot of people do like to see that. I just want to point out another thing right here. A lot of amateurs struggle in this position here. They're already behind their body with their hand path. Clanton does an amazing job of keeping this right in front of his chest. I think that's a real big key right there
From
into why
that position, I mean, it looks like a turn to the top is going to be all it's going to take to get it in a like
exactly.
from there. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, look at that. I mean, that's the club is in the exact spot you need it. Um,
Yeah.
he turns
Yeah.
into that right hip really well. I wouldn't say that.
Hands are pretty high. This is I've not really watched his swing much, but this is indicative of Justin Thomas a
I
bit
was
to
about to
me.
say that. It looks a lot like it because I mean, you look at the club face at the top too. It's a little like you would look at it and think it's a little open, but it's not. It matches his
Sure.
lead arm, um, which is a lot like Justin Thomas's looks like too. So
Hmm.
I saw that exact thing right when you said that. I was
Wow.
about to mention it.
Even
Um,
coming down, how he starts down.
yeah, he's got a lot of the same characteristics. They both
Yeah.
extremely powerful players. Look at his handle go left here.
I was gonna say I love his impact position. It's covered so well. It just looks like it's gonna be like consistent fades.
I would say this was a fade for sure. Yeah, I mean the dude
Hmm.
like that looks extremely effortless to me. I mean, I don't know what he like carries a driver. I know he said with us that he hits it pretty hard, but it looks extremely effortless. His power does.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
um,
love this golf swing. From the top, he holds his width super well.
yeah,
Um, looks like a super shallow kind of pick of the ball, but
yeah,
shallow fades would is what my guess is that he plays.
yeah,
Um, but that I love that because it's covered so nicely. I mean, there's no vertical movement. It seems like going on in his swing at all. It's really just a turn and a turn, and his chest covers it so good there.
hmm.
And I mean, it doesn't seem like much can go wrong from that point. Um,
I just think it's outrageous how the entire golf swing, the club head is in front of him. I mean, even at the
yeah,
top, it takes all the way to here, and it's already back there in front of him.
yeah,
I mean, he does it so well. It's something that if a majority of golfers, in my opinion, started to pay attention to in their own swing, they would start to hit the ball better. So
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So you have anything else on this one, or you want to move on
No,
to the next one?
no, I think that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. Like I said, I mean, he was on the pod. I've seen his swing before, obviously, but in the slow motion, just pausing it at each position at the top, it's crazy how much that looks like JT. So, but no, it's crazy too how young this guy is still. He even mentioned it to us on the pod, and just the years that he has left. But I mean, I have no doubt we're gonna see this guy win on tour in the next 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching him play. Here, we want to do a fun one. I think a lot of people have seen this swing here. We've got Mr. Bubby Golf, Thomas Broders of Good Good. Um, I wanted to do this one personally because it's mind blowing how hard Bubby hits the golf ball. I don't know if people quite understand how far he carries drivers sometimes. Um, First things first, I do want to look at this setup here. Feet are a little closed. He's aiming, if you can see my mouse, he's aiming like right over here. So
Mm-hmm.
his feet are still a little closed. I know if you watch enough of the videos, sometimes the other guys in Good Good will comment how he's aiming 2 fairways right, but that's just it's what he does and he plays it. He plays a big sweeping draw now. It used to be a Bubby slice is what they would call it. Um, but yeah, his feet are a little closed, but his shoulders are fine. A little open even maybe.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this little trigger move here where he starts to move backwards. I think that probably comes from his days of playing baseball. I know that he mentions it a lot that he was a baseball player growing up. But yeah, I mean, you look at this, he hasn't even moved his hands and he's moved 2, 3 inches off the ball. I think that helps him generate a lot of power. I also notice a little stand up here, right there. Um, but yeah, I mean, look at his swing here. He's got a wide takeaway. He's already like got that. I mean, that left arm's fully extended away from his chest. Um, a little flat at the top, but I don't I don't dislike it. He's got a real strong wrist there. And right here, this is the main reason I wanted to break this swing down. Um, you watch, we mentioned it with Akshay, the kind of like back of your lead foot pushing up and off of it. Watch Bubby do this because this is crazy. He snaps his lead leg so hard, it's already dead straight before he's even hitting the ball. And then he just clears it. I mean, his left foot moves backwards. He's snapping it so hard. So it's a very powerful move. I like Bubby's swing. I think he's if you've watched Good Good since kind of the split of them a couple months ago, Bubby has seemed to be the most improved, and it's not real close. So I do like his swing. I think it's gotten a lot better. But yeah, I think it's a very powerful move, and I think you can learn a lot from it if you're trying to gain some distance.
Yeah, I think what stands out to me the most is when you just go back to like the initial, like how he kind of raises up almost. And I feel like you're seeing um guys kind of do that. Like there is some like vertical movement as far as like from the takeaway to raise up, then you're back into like
Hmm.
a powerful squat, and then that's when you get the huge jump off the lead foot. See
Hmm.
guys like Preston Summerhays do that, who won the U.S. Junior, plays at Arizona State. You even see Max Homa kind of how, and he spoke a lot about his swing changes he's went through over the last year or two. And I noticed that it seems like one of his first moves is a bit of a raise, um, or the body seems like it moves vertically upward a bit. So it seems like that's just a source of unlimited power if you can time it up correctly. And
Hmm.
obviously here he's doing it perfectly. So
Also, I
um
want to comment right here how shallow his club is. I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy. That's like horizontal. Like it's crazy.
Hmm.
I
I
think
think
yeah. I
it's
think if you
crazy
want to
too.
generate some power, this is the swing to watch.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
It's crazy you mentioned the foot's like it is jumping up prior to impact even. So it's just a max effort swing.
Yeah, see it's off the ground there. And his
Yeah.
back foot, his heel is not on the ground. So
Hmm.
it's quite impressive his timing and his flexibility that he has to be able to do that.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see guys that do utilize that like ground force well and like the lead foot jumps on the driver swing. It just seems like a wedge swing would have to be just night and day difference because obviously you're not getting that kind of jump. So I mean, I don't know if how the body like knows that it's going to be different necessarily. That's always a question that I've kind of had because I feel like my golf swing's very universal or just like, the feet are kind of doing the same thing
Hmm.
throughout any club in the bag, but
Hmm.
this is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you watch their videos, he's not a great wedge player, and I think
Hmm.
that's probably comes from what you're talking about, where it's kind of an uncertainty of how he's supposed to move when he has
Yeah.
a wedge in his hand. So
Can you maybe just go through impact one more time quickly and then we can move on? But
mhm.
it's crazy his trail foot stays so
It stays up.
planted, kind of. Or not the trail. Yeah, wait, what does his back foot kind of
Look at his trail heel.
so the heel is what's kind of coming. You get none of that like roll of the ground or any like kind of like Justin Thomas, how he's up on his toes. He's
Right.
getting none of that.
So from this position right here, which is basically the top of the back or top of the downswing, look at his heel. It's off the ground
Yeah.
and it never touches again.
Wow, yeah. That's
That's
crazy.
crazy. That's crazy. I mean, he's jumping is what it is.
Yeah. And that's what I think it goes back to. You hear so many coaches and like I don't know, guys that teach biomechanics and stuff, they say teach students from a young age to hit it far and then you can figure out how to hit it straight. Cause this just seems like something that once you've got a player that's played for, 5 years, 10 years, I don't feel like you're going to be able to teach this kind of movement with the lower body and like the force that he's getting. So this is definitely interesting. I feel like it's going to
Hmm.
change the way that instructors teach. It
Oh yeah.
raises the question like, do you just let your players go full bore and try to get them to use the ground properly first? And they're going to be playing army golf, and then you try to straighten it out then once the power is there already.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can see it too because I mean, I've played for 12 years and it's hard for me to gain distance because everything that you do to gain distance feels a little weird to me. It's like I
yep.
don't know. I'm a good enough player as it is. I don't want to try to do something crazy different in the swing.
Yeah. So
So
this is
it's
my friend Brandon,
okay.
plays college golf in an NAIA in Indianapolis. I'll preface it by saying, um, playing through high school golf and junior golf with this guy, it's very much a grinder on his position work. I mean, I was kind of always in his ear throughout high school, telling him like, you got to go on the course and swing your swing and not be thinking about positions on the course. But when he's on the range, you betcha that he's got a swing thought or two in his head and he's trying to hit certain positions and he puts the work into. I mean, the takeaway's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, up to the top, the club gets a little bit behind him, I would say, but nothing major.
Not much at all.
This is a pretty good position at the top that looks like there's not going to need to be like we mentioned in the previous swings where there's super high hands and there has to be manipulation. This seems like
Yeah.
it's a very much like a one plane. Well, I don't know how, I mean, I haven't seen how he brings it down quite yet, but so there is a slight drop.
It's a little, yeah, it shallows out here a little
Sure.
bit. It's still a hair steep, I think.
Okay.
But I think he could shallow it a hair more
Yeah.
because
Looks like a
right
big
there
hip turn, like a big load into his
it is.
right
Yeah.
glute.
Yeah, he gets a good turn through too. I like the Dustin Johnson kind of look forward as you're coming through impact because that helps
Yeah.
turn your hips through a lot.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
gets
The
a good
impact's
turn
really
back
good.
through it. I can see what you're talking about, how he has grinded on this swing for a while because he gets it in such good positions.
Hmm.
There's a slight flip right here. That's
Yep.
that's the only thing. If he could pull that handle a little more left, I don't know his miss, but I would say he might miss it up left sometimes. If he
Yeah.
could pull that handle left, right, like through here, um, I think that would help him a lot and help him
Yeah. I
straighten out
think
that.
he's always played or has tried to play draws, and I'm sure he'll correct me once this
Mhm.
is out if I'm wrong. But no, this definitely his path's coming from the inside. But I think like what you said, that maybe causes he's not stuck, but yeah, maybe just a touch of a flip to try to get that ball to turn over or like to
Yeah,
save it.
it's not at all. something that's going to like hurt him at all. He's got
Mm-mm.
a great move. You can tell he puts in a lot of work. It's in that hip turn right there. You can tell it's very powerful. I mean, his belt buckle's facing the camera here,
Mhm.
which is impressive.
So I'm just curious, Jacob. Like, I just want to use this time to sort of ask the pro if I can. Um, if a student with this swing comes in and sees you, and I mean, obviously we don't have all the data available. We can't really see the numbers on the quad or anything like that, and we don't have a face on video. But from this view, if you have to give them one thing to kind of work on, it can be like a short term or long term thing. What would you say, or what would you tell this player?
Um, well, and one thing I would say, and it wouldn't be like a technical thought to work on,
Mm-hmm.
would be to really kind of what you were telling him, like play golf, don't play golf swing, because
Yeah.
he's got it in every position you need it. So I'm sure he's very successful, but
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't tell him much at all. I mean, like you said, the path is maybe a hair from the inside. That's one thing that I would try to help him with. The only thing that he could do, I think, is this move right here. It kind of comes closer to his body. Um, if he could keep this, if he could get a little more depth with the arms and the top of the backswing, and then keep that width about him, I think it's going to help him straighten out that path a lot. And I think that would help him. And like I said, just pull that handle more left through impact.
Yep.
But I mean, he's got a great move. I think he's, like I said, I love this right here where he's not stuck looking at the ball. He's allowing his hips to turn through with it. So yeah, he's got a great swing. I like it a lot. Did you say he was on your high school team?
He was, yeah.
That's
Yep.
awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a good move.
Sophomore in university, Marion in Indianapolis.
Yeah. Yeah. There he is.
Sweet.
All right. Cool. Okay. All right. So this next swing we're going to break down here is one of my friends. His name is Sam Emmons. He's in the Florida Gulf Coast PGM program. He's working on getting his PGA certification, which is great. I'm excited for him for that. Um, I'll do a quick run through and then I'll let you have your thoughts on it. I like his setup. I think it's very square. Not too, it's not draw bias, fade bias, anything like that. I like it a lot. I think he's got a great setup here. His takeaway is very wide. He keeps that trail arm pretty straight throughout the swing. One thing I would tell him, and I've told him this before when I've watched him swing, is the club head does get a hair inside. Um, I don't, I don't know if, yeah, and I think that's caused from the takeaway right here going a little outside because in that width that I was talking about. I think if he brought it back just a hair closer, maybe did the towel drill a little bit, it would help him a lot. Keep that club face covering those hands on the way back. And then at the top of the swing here, he gets in a great position. The club is it's a little closed, but that's just that's caused by his grip. It's a little stronger grip, specifically with that non-glove hand. Brings the club down in a great position here. Um, Shallows it out well, um, and he's just got a really good, really solid swing. The only thing like I said, I would clean up would be that backswing just a touch. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's a solid player. He's played me in matches many times, and I don't know if I've ever beat him. So he's a great player. I'll let you break down what you think of Sam's swing here, and we'll get going on that.
Yeah, I think you covered the main points that I saw really good. I took a peek at the swing before we started. If you could, I don't know if you can do it on here, but if you could play it in full speed, one of the things that I noticed, simple, but is just how good the tempo is.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's a slow mo video, but it just seems good. Like his timing seems really good.
no, it's
Um,
not a slow mo. It's
yeah,
that's
okay,
that's his takeaway. Yeah,
okay,
yeah, he takes it back. It takes it back with such good tempo. It's crazy.
yeah, it's like a Sung JM almost.
A little bit, yeah. I see that too. It's great. I mean,
But
the kid's got a good swing. He could have played in college. I told him that. Um, he wanted to go do his PGM, which I don't fault him for at all. Going to school in Fort Myers would be pretty sweet. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, he's a good kid and he's got a great swing. He's done well in those PGM tournaments they've had down there. I know, and
yeah.
yeah,
I think
he
that's huge, just the tempo, especially like you mentioned when you're playing in tournaments and like if you
yeah,
get under pressure, if you're coming down the stretch to do something special, if you can have that tempo good to rely on it, I mean, the misses are just going to be the dispersion is going to be so much tighter.
he's hard to
So,
beat. He's very hard to beat. All right, and here for our fun ones that we have, we're gonna break down our significant others' golf swings. Um, this first one is gonna be my fiance. Her name is Alexis. This is in her backyard, first of all. Got to get her some golf shoes. I got to be better there. We can't be wearing flip-flops. It restricts our turn back and everything. So, yeah, we can't be doing that. But she's got a good setup. I mean, her hands are a little out there, but she could squat a little more, but she's totally fine. She's never played before, so this takeaway is good. I could strengthen that grip a hair would be the main thing for me, but I just wanted to point this out right here.
wow.
This might be, I mean, this is a better at the top position than I get in, and
It's better than mine as well, I was going to say.
her
It's
arm
it's it's more
structure.
on plane.
It's right on plane. It's aimed right at her little brother out there in the yard. So, and then she drops it down right here perfectly. I mean, this there's a little squat.
Wow.
There's a little squat in the downswing, but she shallows the club really
Look
well.
at the space there.
The handle's
That's
pointed right
creative.
at the ball, which is what you want to see, and she's just turning straight through it. Only thing would be I would want to see her release the club a little earlier. But she did hit a little draw here right over the play set, so it was quite impressive to watch. But like I said, never played before, only played Top Golf. Um, I do like the
Uh-huh.
subtle foot stomp here, John Rahm-esque. Um, I like it a lot. I think she's got a good move for someone who's never played before. So
Yeah. This is crazy to me. This is what's so fun about this is it's and that's why golf is so special. It's so cool. You can take people who have not, any experience or minimal experience, and there's still stuff that's so good that they do better than guys like you and I that have grinded for years. Like it's crazy. That's what's so I don't think any other sport that you're gonna see that necessarily. Like that you're gonna have her hitting positions that are better than us, than tour pro. Like it's crazy. It's
right,
pretty crazy.
it's wild. It's ridiculous.
But that backswing, I can't get over that. The top of the backswing is like perfect. I mean, you could build you're like she's perfect to build a golf swing around that. Like build a golf swing around that.
I know. If she ever wants to go play, I think I can make a golfer out of her pretty quick. So
She'd be dangerous. Give her 6 months or a year and she's gonna be taking your money.
I know. I know. I feel bad for the other couples in like Nine and Dine or whatever.
Oh
I think
yeah.
it might not be even close, um, but that's all we got for her. I do want to give her a shout out for letting us do this. I know she was a little anxious about getting her swing broke down on a podcast, but um, yeah, she's got a good swing. She has nothing to worry about. So we'll move on
Yep.
to our next one here. Okay.
All right. So you just saw Jacob's significant other swing. This is mine. This is Kira's. And okay, so the the first thing I've got to point out is they both have got some kind of a sandal on,
Mm-hmm.
which is not ideal. Um, but no, we've got her hitting 58-degree wedge here. So this is probably just like a 40, 50 yard little pitch. Um, okay, so the takeaway is I think it's similar to Alexis's. Like it's to the inside, it's whipped to the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But when the shaft's parallel to the ground, I don't necessarily think it's a terrible position to be in. That position right there is what I think is good. The club's parallel. I mean, it's parallel to the path of the feet,
Yeah.
and then I think it just gets super shallow. Like it looks like it just gets super shallow right there, pre impact. And this one was just like a little bit of a pull draw, but the contact was really good. And yeah, I mean, she didn't believe me, but I told her I was like, "There's so many good positions in this, but Um, I don't know. What do you? I mean, do you see what do you see what I kind of see here, Jacob? Let's hear. I want to hear from the pro because then she'll believe me.
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. I think the only thing, like I told you earlier, that she might, if she wants to play golf, she might practice a little bit, is a little more hip turn.
Okay.
But I do think she's got a really good move. I think, like you said, they both have like the exact same grip here. I can tell on the club
Mm-hmm.
where we might strengthen that just a hair.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, she doesn't overswing, which is great. It's
Yeah.
something out of somebody just beginning you really want to emphasize is not overswinging. Um, yeah, I mean, she gets the dead middle of the club. It's quite
Yeah.
impressive,
Yeah.
especially
And
with a
and
wedge. Like
yeah.
I mean, it's easier whenever the club's bigger. She hits the
Mm-hmm.
dead middle of it. So, I mean, I think
Mm-hmm.
she does a really good job. I think she's got a future, and um, we might have we might have to play a 2v2 or something this summer
Oh,
and see what
that'll be
happens.
special. That'll be special. Yeah, and we're hitting off mats here, obviously, but that's what I kept telling her. The strike was really good, so I'm gonna be interested to see this summer when we can get off some grass. Um, I mean, this has got to just be a little bit of a shallow pick of a divot though, which is gonna be ideal for a wedge. But
Hmm.
no, so but yeah, thank you for agreeing with me. Maybe now she'll take my word on it and and realize the potential that's there.
Yeah,
That's what's crazy. Like total beginner too. I can't like people don't believe me when I say it. You just pick up a club and sometimes it's just natural. It's just there.
I kind of
Um
worry that if we do start working with Alexis and Kira, that they might pass us pretty quick. So, um,
that'll be humbling.
oh my goodness, it would be quite humbling. I don't know
Yeah.
how I would react, but
Yeah.
um, no, I am very thankful that they were brave enough to give us swing videos and us feature them on the show. It was cool to do that. So,
Yeah. We'll have to do something too, maybe a follow up in a couple months if as the weather gets nicer up in the north if they get a chance to to work on their games at all.
yeah, we'll
So,
see. We'll see where we can get them in like August. We'll see what we got.
yeah. Yeah.
But
But
thank you
this has
everybody
been
for watching.
enjoyable though. Doing
Yeah, yeah, I
this. This
enjoyed
has been
this a
fun.
lot. We'll do this. We'll do this again. I mean, this is,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll have like anybody who wants their swing broke down, send it in. We'll feature you
Yeah.
on Hammer the Heck Out of It.
Yeah.
We'll get you on here. We'll take a look at it, see what we got going. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it a lot. I want to say thank you to anybody who stuck around and watched this whole thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, hammer the heck out of it. We'll see you guys later.